Well, hello and welcome. Thanks for getting your pot on. Thank you for telling a friend. So we spread the word about the pirate ship. Some things that are a little off kilter here, but well, just pretend they're not and move on. I'm going to do this one as a Billified bite because I didn't plan my week right and things are a little chaotic in my life and have been for a little while now. And, I try to keep that. There are certain things that I keep under wrap. There are two. Let me start here. Two things I want to address tonight. The first one is stress. The second one is swearing. Okay. Stress is something that we all feel. Everybody gets stress, right? We all have it to some degree. Yes, I took a nap before this, or I laid down before this. I haven't felt great lately. I don't know if anybody else has had that, like this summer cold that I can't seem to shake, and I'm sleeping great and all this stuff. But stress, I think we can all realize that it has some bad effects on our overall health in situations. By that, I mean, like, there can be ramifications, right? Your stomach starts to hurt, or you get a headache. I got a stress headache. All those things are like physical manifestations of something that is an exterior problem that we're internalizing in some way. The thing for me has always been there's a certain part of my body that not every human being has this part in their body. They just don't, because we're made different. And that's where my stress goes. And I've been having some problems with that for a while now. And that would be my prostate. And I know it's not, I usually don't talk about this. As a matter of fact, I haven't really told a lot of people about this at all, that this stuff was going on, because I don't, and this is where I want to get to in this, and maybe this will make sense to you. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't make any sense at all. Maybe it's more just for me to get it off my mind. But a lot of times I'll internalize stress. And since my 20s, I have had issues with my prostate. Probably in my 20s, it was overused. There was a lot going on. Then, I got married, so there wasn't necessarily a lot going on at times. You have kids and things. I get it. No big deal. So now it has nothing to do with activity or non-activity. I just becomes like a weak spot in your body. And that's where a lot of things, when things get stressful for me, and I've had many issues of a personal level that I have not discussed in the podcast because they involve people that I love and care about deeply. And it is not necessarily my place to talk about those things without their knowledge or permission. And I'm not going to do that, which is something a little new for me, because I would normally, I think a lot of times I did. Reminds me of a time where I talked about something very personal about my father on the radio. And at the time, it had just started where you could listen to the radio stations anywhere you were in the world, because the internet was around. Each station was streaming. And my dad, I have it somewhere, I saved it, wrote a letter. I think he said he sent it to the FCC, complaining about me as a personality or something. But he sent me a copy of it, where it's a handwritten letter about me talking about some personal things of his. So I haven't always been good about that. But you learn, right, as we go through. I always think fuck around and find out, is what people say. But yeah, that's that is a true story. And someday I should find that letter, and maybe I should read it on here. Just because it was sort of funny to me in a way, because I'm like, there's nothing they're going to do. But what I didn't really want to deal with at the time was that I had caused some real pain for my old man. And that wasn't cool of me to do. It wasn't my story to tell. He was private in certain aspects of his life, and I did not allow that to happen. So anyway, that's why I haven't talked about these other things. But there's been a lot. There's been a lot of stress things. I'm back in school and I'm running rapid, whatever it is. And things are going quickly and fast. And I have had ongoing prostate things where they measure your prostate in what's called a PSA. And it sounds so weird, right? Because public service announcement, but not really. And so what was happening was my PSA was fairly high. I don't really know in terms of like numbers where it would land or where it would not, in terms of is this so outrageously high or not? And guys don't really talk about these things at all. So I haven't said anything to anybody. Back in April, I had an appointment with a urologist, and the urologist said to me at the time, we no longer do the finger up the butt, which was always a way of checking the prostate. They now do an MRI, and it was a woman, good looking woman too. I was like, oh, you want to put a finger in my no. So she said we have to because your PSA is where it's at and it's high for your age, which kind of funny, right? To even think of how old I am, because I don't think any of us actually think or feel as old as maybe we chronologically are. So I had this scheduled, and it was going to be an MRI with contrast because they're looking for lesions, also known as cancer. So I didn't say anything to anybody for a really long time. And then I think about 2 weeks ago, I mentioned something to Kevin on the podcast. And that was about the only person I had really said anything to. Other than, of course, one night I happened to be at a local pub, see a guy I used to work with in radio who's about a decade older than I am currently. And I said, I haven't seen you in a while. And he said, yeah, I had prostate cancer. Not uncommon. Matter of fact, I've had my doctor tell me since I was in my 20s that if nothing else gets you, eventually prostate cancer will get you. So he said, I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, my PSA was, and he gave me the number. And I froze. And I didn't really want to react because the number he gave me was half the number of mine. Like it was half. So I thought, okay. So I said to him, well, what about like when they did urinalysis or whatever? And he's like, no, I don't think there was anything. There was nothing. Like mine was clean. There was no bacteria. There was nothing in that. And so they wanted to do this MRI with contrast. And and honestly, even talking about this right now, I may be jumping the gun a little bit here. But here we go. So that had me a little concerned, and it was after that I started to say things to like Kevin. I said something to Kevin when I'm like, "Hey, man, I got this other thing going on." It's because it starts to weigh in the back of your head, right? Now, I'm not a person who I don't know if you can imagine this about me. I wear an awful lot of black. I was looking back. I had changed my shirt before I came over because I'm like, I think I wore this one recently on the podcast. So I throw this one on, and then I get over here, and every last episode probably had this shirt on. But I have a lot of black shirts. I like black. I don't know why. Maybe that tells you something about me. Very dark, mysterious. So it kind of kicks around in your brain like, yeah, all right, what's going on? This guy had a PSA that was half mine. He went in. They said they found lesions, which would be cancer, and they took it out. Then I'm in a golf tournament with another guy I know who's a little bit older than I am, who did have prostate cancer before he was 50. I think he was like in his late 40s. And I said, hey, man, how did that, go? And I asked what his PSA number was, and his was higher than mine. Okay. All right. So you don't really know. And what I started to say is, I don't know if you know this about me. I don't usually like to really, I don't like to worry, period. I don't like to say anything. I'd rather just go about it because everything is nothing until it's something. Does that make sense? Like there's nothing I can do about it if I don't know what it is. So until I have the answers, I'm not going to sweat it. or so I think. And I really do. I think those things add to the stress over time. I haven't been sleeping great. I haven't been this. So yesterday was the MRI with contrast. And I went in, I did it. And I hadn't told a whole lot of people, but I did tell a couple of good friends. One of them, well, it doesn't matter. So that was about it. I didn't really say much more about that. And then you get the results. Now, this is something I think is a flaw. Please tell me, honest to God, comment on this. Send me an email, bill@billmoranproductions.com. Call us at 585-206-8866. Leave a voicemail. I need to know if I'm like way out of left field on this one. If you have MyChart, okay, and that's how most of us make our appointments, refill medications, communicate with our doctor, is through MyChart. It's kind of the way of the world right now. Well, what happens is you'll get an alert from MyChart that you have a test result, okay? But it's before your doctor has had a chance to look at it and then be able to explain it to you. Well, that doesn't help anybody, because I don't care who you are, unless you have a medical dictionary or some kind of medical knowledge or someone in your life who is a doctor that can explain this stuff to you. It's kind of stressful. It's annoying. So I had to go into a class today at around noon, and I had a Zoom meeting before that for another class. It doesn't matter. Running late, and right at the end of the Zoom meeting, and just before I'm going to go in the other class, I get an alert telling me that I have a new test result on MyChart. So I open it up, and it looks like it, no lesions or something. I don't know. Okay, that sounds pretty good. The same thing I did when I got my colonoscopy results back, which was, by the way, almost 24 hours before the doctor put it into plain language for me to understand in MyChart. Hey, you're all clear. I went in and I copied it. And I know there are people that do not like AI. A lot of people think it's not great for the environment. It's not great for just even our thinking or whatever. Look, I know. But in this case, I just didn't care. I needed to know. So I open it up and I dump all the stuff in, and it comes back. And it basically says, let me put this in simple language for you. This is the best possible results you could have gotten from having the MRI with contrast. It doesn't explain why your prostate's swollen or enlarged, but there are no lesions that they're seeing. Something on the top of my femur, but it's a cyst or something. Nothing to sweat. Still haven't heard from my doctor yet. So then I go into this class, and it's instructed by one of my buddies, and he knew that this was happening because I needed to leave his class early, and I wanted to explain why. So I told him, and I said, then it was, I got to the class late. So it's the first day of this class, and they want me to introduce myself. And they come to me, and I'm looking at my phone. I go, I'm sorry, I just got a test result. But I had honestly already gotten it, but I'm looking back through it. I don't know why. And he said to me, do you need to step outside? And I said, no. I said, actually, before I came up here, I ran it through AI, and it looks like I'm clean. And he came down in front of everybody. We embraced, and he gave me a big hug, which then meant I need to explain to everybody who probably most of these people will never have prostate issues because they don't have prostates. And those that do probably won't have a problem for another 30 years. So see, I'm hurting. So that was the thing. Then as I'm driving, ever get compelled, like you're like, oh, I really should call so-and-so and just say what's going on. And usually so-and-so is your mom, right? It was my mom. And I haven't talked to my mom a whole lot, and she has called me out on not talking to her a whole lot. And I tried to explain that a lot of this stuff was just processing. Let me tell you something. If you don't have a therapist that sat in their own shit and really figured out their own shit, they're probably not worth your time. I'm just going to say that, because so many things, right? This is something that I was unfamiliar with, and the more I get familiar with it, I realize you're never going to have all the answers. You're never going to stop learning. And you always need to be examining yourself for the betterment of yourself, right? So take that as anything. Try not to make it like some political thing like, oh, they're getting soft over there. No, they're not. They're actually, finding ways to actually hold firm boundaries and be a good person. And there's nothing wrong with that, no matter where you stand on the political aisle, please. So I called my mom, and she happened to be on a train. And anybody who has a parent that's nearly 80 years old and they have their earpods in, it's going to take you about 3 to 5 minutes before they can actually talk to you. You're going to hear a lot of, hang on, honey. Hang on. Can you hear me? Wait, you can? Hang on. How about now? Well, I heard you before. Anyway, she's on a train, and I said to her, listen, I wanted to tell you this. I just got some pretty good health news. I had an MRI. And she's like, oh, now. This is why I don't want to say anything. And this is where the stress thing. So maybe I am internalizing it, even though I'm not thinking about it, but it's sitting inside me. This is the stuff that I'm realizing is a lot of us swallow our shit, and it actually affects our body. It just does. Whatever it is, whatever you're not talking about, whatever conversation right? And so for me, I used to explode on things because you would push down. That's not the way to deal with anything. So I say to her, and then I can feel myself getting annoyed because she's like, oh, well, when did you schedule it? I said, April. And you never said a word. You never said anything. And he said, no, I didn't, because I didn't want every conversation that I would have with you at any random time to be, how are you feeling? What's your prostate? I'm so worried, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want that. I didn't want to have those conversations. So again, I would fall back on, and I really believe this, it's nothing until it's something, right? Do we need to let everybody know all our stuff? I don't think we do all the time. If it's personal to you, it's okay. I always think like, I'm not going to think about it, because if I do, maybe that makes it worse. I don't know. So I didn't say anything. So I got a text from my mother a little while ago again. And she said, I'm so glad it was good news. I can't imagine if it wasn't. And I'm thinking in my head, if I had to call her and say, hey, listen, I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have said anything until either my prostate was out or they were sticking. I think now they put radiation pills or suppositories in you. I don't know what it is. Until something was either underway to treat it or whatever. Now, by the way, maybe I could be wrong on this. Maybe I'm misinterpreting the whole thing and I'm jumping the gun here. So maybe I'll have to, back my tracks with my mom. But I guess my point in telling you this is twofold. One, you got stressful stuff, find a way to get it out. You don't have to tell anybody, write it and just write. Just sit down for 20 minutes and just write it out. You'll start to see when you actually do that exercise for a little while, and I don't want to sound all preachy, but it will help you figure out the root of some things, because a lot of times it's not what you think it is. You find that out. And a lot of times when someone's blowing up at you, it's misplaced anger. We all know that. But the other thing is you start to, like, a lot of our stuff is in our body, right? Cancer is a disease or dis-ease. So how do people live so long that have been drinking 15 Dr. Peppers a day or, 3 shots of whiskey and a pack of cigarettes and they're 93 years old? Because they figured out a way to get rid of stress. That's really what it is. I'm not saying those things are healthy. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to be a healthy person, but I think that we do not look at the whole human being. We don't. And the whole human being has to do with the shit you're dealing with that's weighing on you, the stuff at work that's driving you crazy, the coworker that chews with their mouth open. I'm just saying, like, but your boss or deadlines and trying to worry about, is there going to be downsizing and what's going to happen? And, oh my God, this thing just got cut from the budget. And will I have a job? And not wanting to say anything to your family or your kids or upset anybody. That weighs heavier than you think. And I'm not here to champion going to talk to somebody necessarily, although I do think that is a wonderful way to do it. you can just write that shit out, because it does come down to maybe enlarging your prostate. And that can be uncomfortable. I've been peeing a lot. But a steady stream. I mean, always a solid stream for me. That's one of the things I thought, probably going to be pretty good. So that's it for this Billified bite. The other thing I wanted to talk about was swearing. That's it on the stress thing for this Billified bite. I have talked about how a listener has said to me how I swear too much and I should curb my swearing and blah, blah, blah. And I think more recently, I have realized how much I swear just in my conversation. And I don't know, because I never, not on purpose, maybe once or twice, slipped on the radio where the FCC would tag you with a fine if you said a swear word. So why I always do this, I don't know. I was on stage recently and I dropped an F-bomb, and it was middle school girls, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. It added to the humor of the moment, right? I can play that off, but I really caught myself. And then somebody said to me the other day, by the way, you dropped 2 other swear words. I wasn't even conscious of that. I was not conscious of it. Now, I was reading I've been reading a book, and I learned a new word in there, and it was, fuck around. No, it was, what do we do when we're trying to, oh God, I'm going to forget the word. It was my favorite word. And I would happen to be in a meeting at my kid's school with a lot of the administration in the room with me and his mom. And I said, I don't want to, it's not fuck around and find out. I might have to pause this and figure out what the word was, but it was, the hell was it? I got it. Fuck arounditis. Fuck arounditis. And we were talking about my kid in school and something, and I said, I looked around the room and I went, I don't want to deal with fuck arounditis. We're trying to figure it out, because we're going to run out of calendar, is my point, right? We're going to run out of time. But the schools are big. They got a lot of kids. We're going to fuck arounditis. Well, and when we figure out what actually might be helping support this guy best, it'll be May of next year, and now the year's basically over. So that was the thing. And the word is fuck arounditis. And I probably dropped a few more F-bombs in there. And later, his mom said to me, I've never heard you do that in a school meeting. And I said, because I'm not feeling well. And I've just had it. Like last night, I went to Wegmans after I had the MRI. I hadn't eaten all day, right? You can't eat before this thing, all this stuff. And I stopped there and I got one of those ready meals, and I got myself a dessert thing. And then I went and got a bag of veggie straws, and I did something else. Licorice. I got licorice. I don't know why. And I went home and I watched the next game, and I was so excited, and I ate, and it was fantastic. I bought more stuff than I planned, and I didn't feel like taking the cart all the way out to my car, and I had no bags with me because this was like not a planned thing, and I had to carry it all. I'm trying to get it out of the cart, and a guy is standing behind me waiting for me to get out of putting the cart away. And he said, you could bring that to your car. And I said, if I wanted to, I would have. And I said it with such a fuck you tone. This is what happens when I don't feel great. But I think all of us, it's like, okay, buddy, you know what? What did I hold you up for? What? 30 fucking seconds? Go to the other end of the cart thing. Jesus. But if it were me in his shoes, who knows what I would have done. Point being, sometimes these are the explanation points in life when we swear. Are they not? And I have said there is a word that is not popular in our country. It is not a word that we are allowed to really say at all. Matter of fact, probably 25 to 30 years ago, before most people who are in this establishment now could legally drink, and I'm talking people in their late 40s, I was in this establishment and I dropped the C word, and a friend's wife slapped me across the face. Like right there. Bam. I wasn't calling her that. I just said the word. You're right. It's the C word. I love the word. Why? because to me, in the world I grew up in, from relatives to some of my best friends today who are from Europe, or at least Northern Europe, let's call it the United Kingdom, they say the word and they say it differently. Here's another thing about me. Sometimes when I don't feel really good, feeling a little low, I will find a rom-com. I know, it's terrible. It's one of those, it's a weakness of mine, and I watched, I think it's called Office Romance with Jennifer Lopez and the guy from, who was the real surly soccer player from that other Apple TV show, and then he shows up in Shrinking as well. I forget his name, but he was in Ted Lasso, and then he's in this. He happens to be a lawyer. He wants to date Jennifer Lopez. He's whatever. Just listen to this. This explains everything about this word. I laughed so hard. It's a waste of time on Netflix. If you like to watch these kind of things, it's cute. It's all right. It's forgettable. It's nothing except for this. For me, this was the most important moment in the movie, and I want to play it for everybody I know so I can also say this word without getting slapped across the face now.
Oh, thanks, guys. You shouldn't have.
Happy birthday, Henry.
Yay.
To the best guy ever.
You're the man, Henry.
Happy birthday, Henry. You're an absolute cunt.
See what I'm saying?
Your turn.
Okay. So now the next scene in the movie is that guy from Ted Lasso in the HR office talking. Please listen to this with an open mind and understand what this word means in certain cultures.
It was a compliment.
See?
You can't say that word in this office. You just can't say that word.
George, I understand that now, but it is important to me that you understand where I'm from. Cunt is not a bad word.
Baganoosh.
We use cunt for everything.
Yeah, okay.
All the time. Like if you got a parking ticket, you might be like, you fucking cunt.
Don't need examples.
But if you saw an old friend, you'd be like, cunt, because you like them. If your team scored a goal, you'd be like, get in, you cunt. Or if a mouse ran across your kitchen tabletop, you'd be like, you cheeky cunt.
Bring it down.
It's how we process the 5 stages of grief. Cunt, 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 cunt. Honestly, George, I'm not a...
Stop! Stop! Please. I want to get on my hands and knees and beg you to not say that word ever again in this office. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to write you up for this incident because that was a lot coming at me.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, George. You're a good man.
I absolutely thought that scene was great. It explains everything, absolutely everything. For all my friends that I know that use that word in that way, for people I grew up around that use that word in that way, I say to you, my friends, I love each and every one of you cunts, and I appreciate you listening. And I'll see all you cunts next time.
I woke up in a hotel, didn't know what to do. I turned